Yep. Okay, good morning everybody. I'm Councillor David Shaw and I'm Chair of the Licensing Subcommittee. I would like to welcome you all to today's Licensing Subcommittee meeting. This is not a public meeting, but a meeting the public can attend. Before we commence, I would like to outline the domestic arrangements for the meeting. We are not expecting a fire practice today, is that still the case? Yep. If the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber, then turn right and proceed down the stairway and through the emergency exit on the ground floor. The assembly point is in the public square in front of Cast and beyond the fountain. Anybody with mobility issues should wait in the refuge area near the lift and use the intercom to call for assistance. This meeting will be recorded and published on the Council's website. By entering the Council chamber, you are accepting that you will be recorded and your images will be retained and broadcast by the Council. If anyone intends to record today's meeting, please ensure that this does not disturb the conduct of the meeting. Please ensure your mobile phones are switched to silent. Thank you. I will commence the meeting. Item 1, apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies? No. Item 2, exclusions of the public and press. Appendix E and E1 in the agenda papers contain restricted information. Therefore, if any member wishes to discuss information contained in Appendix E or E1, the public and press will be excluded from the meeting, but will then be brought back into the hearing after those deliberations. In addition, please note that when the subcommittee goes into deliberation to determine the decision, all public and press will be excluded from the meeting. They will then be brought back into the meeting to hear the subcommittee decision. Item 3, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No? Okay, thank you. So, before I move on to item 4, which is the application for the new premise licence, it is my understanding that we've received an email from the applicant requesting a deferment of the committee's decision. So if the applicant or the applicant's representative would like to discuss that, now is the time to do that.
Thank you, Chair. My name's Paddy Wurr and I'm a licensing solicitor and I represent the premises licence applicant. I did some little time ago contact the authority to say that I would ask for an adjournment, and I think quite properly, Chair, you decided that that should be done at the hearing. I refreshed that application yesterday when I pointed to the hearing regulations in which I was asking for the adjournment, where you are obviously as a licensing authority regulating your own proceedings able to grant a deferment or an adjournment of the proceedings if you think it's in the interests of justice to do so. The reason why I'm asking for that adjournment is a significant amount of information was I anticipated and we did receive yesterday in relation to witness statements from the police representative and also from Mr. Maltravers. What is often the case with event licenses is you have the difficulties of an ESAG meeting where the Safety Advisory Group are looking at the plans for an event, and you have the premises licence application which run on separate tracks. You've obviously got the final determination in relation to whether a premises licence should be granted. My client, Mr. O'Grady, who sits to the left of me, you will know from the event licence that was given last year, has successfully operated premises in the Doncaster Licensing Authority area since about 2016. Some of those have been multi-capacity premises licenses.
Sorry, may I just jump in? I don't want to get into the bones of the reasons right
Yes.
now. What the committee needs to do is to just convene privately to consider your request. Okay. And then from that decision, then we can decide whether we will adjourn or whether we will continue.
Okay.
But for technical reasons, I don't really want to get too far down the route of discussing the merits of the applicant or the application. Is that okay?
It is.
So if you just want to
very briefly
summarise, that's fine.
I apologise for that. I was just trying to introduce Mr. O'Grady. So I think in relation to the SAG process, there's been a feeling that we haven't, I've not been involved in that. And what's happened, I think, is that on receiving the information, the event management plan, which we want to refer to the licensing subcommittee in the application, needs to be further amended. We need to look at the issues that have been disclosed by the police and by the safety officer, and we need time to do that. It would be wrong in my submission for us to go into a very contested application at the moment when we don't have the information that we can put forward to you to deal with some of the evidence that I only received yesterday. And I think it would be fair and right in all of the circumstances, and certainly in the interests of justice, that we have the opportunity to finesse that document, circulate it to the parties. It may well be that that doesn't assuage their fears and we still have to come back in relation to a contested hearing. But we would be in a position where I could put my clients, if you like, final and best offer to get all of those issues that have been raised, particularly in Mark Roxburgh's statement, which is detailed, and we get those documents finalised, circulate them, and then I can refer to those in front of you as a licensing committee. I can't do that today. And in those circumstances, it wouldn't be fair to my client to have a fair hearing, and we do need the time to be able to do that. The only point that I would raise is that Mr. Curry, who sits beside me, who is a very senior safety advisor, works in Hull on the safety advisory group there, has now been instructed to look very closely at some of the issues that we have just been served with. And we feel, having had detailed discussions, that we can meet virtually all, if not all, of the concerns that have been raised by the objectors. But I can't do that today. And it's right and proper, I think, for an event that is very important for Doncaster, that my client has the opportunity to put all of that information before you. And that's why I'm asking for the deferment, to give us the opportunity to do that and come back to you with a finalised document which we can rely on, and for you to make a proper and informed decision. So that's why we're asking for the deferment.
Okay, thank you. And sorry now, and I know everybody's just filed in, but we need to just go into private session to discuss that request.
Chair, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
You might want to just know the views of the other parties who are present.
Okay, no, that's fair comment. Thank you for that. So with that in mind, do any of the people who are objecting to the event and the application wish to make any representations with regard to not allowing a deferment? No, that seems that no one does. So are you happy with that we proceed to a private session? So without further ado, if people would be kind enough to leave the chamber, and we will sit privately and discuss the merits of a deferment. Thank you. Thank you. Just to welcome you all back. We've just obviously had a briefish discussion. The committee happy to allow an adjournment, and I'll just correct myself. I've been, by more learned people than me, I've been using the word deferment, so I've been told off for that. So we're happy to grant an adjournment. What we've come up with as far as a date, we've thought about time scales, giving sufficient time for the applicant and responsible authorities to meet and discuss the needs. But we're also, mindful of the fact that the event being on the 13th of July, there has to be time to implement appropriately the requirements. So we've looked at, our diaries, rooms, and the general logistics of it, and we've come up with a date of 22nd of April to adjourn to. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but that is the date that we would quite like. Obviously, once we start pushing beyond that, there's various things happening you know, that might make it technically more difficult and is eating into your time to implement whatever recommendations may be brought forward. So we're just trying to be mindful of being fair to all parties. I see you want to make a representation, so that's fine.
Chair, I have had an opportunity to speak to those who represent some of the objectors in this case while we've been out, and I think your points are very sensible. One of the things that we wanted to try and create was an environment where where a deadline was set for us to give the information to the parties that are objecting, so that they've got time to consider it and see whether we've got anywhere towards a successful resolution or whether there are outstanding issues. My own view is that I don't think that can be achieved by the 22nd. I think we need another week, I'm afraid. I'm sorry for saying that. I don't know what my friends' views are. My other issue is I'm not available on the 22nd, which would make difficulties. I'm elsewhere. But I think on timing, and I don't know what my friends who are here for the objectors feel, but I would have thought another week would be needed for us to get the documentation over, for it to be considered, and for us to get all the paperwork into the committee for a sensible resolution. But those are my views. Okay,
I mean, we are happy to try and be flexible around it to an extent, but obviously there are things that curtail us as a committee. Availability of the committee rooms, our legal representatives. So I think rather than playing date ping pong, I think we have a broad agreement. I think we understand the principles of why we were going to work towards certain dates in certain ways for the reasons that I think we can all accept as a committee is fine. So I think from our point of view, we're happy, and officers will work out a date that we can all make it and that we can get a suitable room. What I would say is that, and obviously part of the reason why we are adjourning is that there's been a lot of very late representations from both parties. While we are not in a position to demand in that you are able to present right up until the start of the hearing, and obviously throughout the hearing, we would ask that, you know, everybody tries to get the submissions in a timely manner. Obviously, it is a complex set of plans. They are the documents that I've been presented with yesterday evening and today. That's the document I was presented with 3 days ago from the applicant. So we do want to do it justice. We do want to ensure public safety, but we do obviously want to support events that are good for the town. But, you know, public safety has to be our major priority. So I think you're wanting to come in.
Suggestion that in
Chair, I think that's exceptionally helpful. I take on board what you're saying about the late service of documents. I've already undertaken to my friend who represents the police, we're not going to do that. I don't want to swamp a committee with documents at the last minute. So we've seen the very detailed statements. We're going to work really hard on our event management plan now to get one final version for you to consider. We're going to give it to all of the parties who sit on that side of the room as quickly as we can. I'm hopeful to get them that within a week. And then we'll stop the dribs and drabs of information coming back, so that when we come back, you've got one set of papers that you can rely on. And I'm only apologetic that we didn't get to that stage today.
That's fine. So I think as a committee, we're kind of all done, really, unless there's any no further words from our legal advice. So with that,
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Just briefly, just because I'm conscious of avoiding document confusion and management of documents on the return date, I wonder if we could just have a confirmation that, say, 2 days before the hearing, there is a final updated pack released. I understand that there's a page on the Council's website where these documents are currently hosted, the agenda pack and so on, and that would include as an appendix the updated representations and documents, just because I don't think anyone wants to be in a position where we return and we're all talking to different versions of documents, different paginations, and it would just be helpful and clear if there was one updated pack.
I agree that would be ideal and preferable. However, as chair, I cannot insist on that in the sense of the legislation and the rules that we're guided by.
But if there's general agreement...
If there's general agreement, that's right, yeah.
Then that's going to be helpful to all the parties.
So do you want to just pick that up?
Well,
And
it's a matter for you, Chair.
well, I'm happy. I don't want at any point. I want it to be absolutely clear that the committee are not in a position to demand a document pack prior. So I just want it to be clear that if that would be ideal and would be preferable, and if all parties are willing to agree to that, then that can be noted. But it's not something I can insist on, although I would want to see it happen. So if we can move forward on that basis, that would be great.
Standard pagination.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just asking the chair if we could possibly have a standard pagination on the paperwork, so everything that comes to the next committee, could it be marked as, say, final draft and an agreed numbering structure, so as we know we're working to the last copy that's posted on the website, if that was agreeable.
You're off. Is it?
I think
Chair, we get additional information. I added additional information from the applicant side this time, and that additional information went on as a full pack. But as you appreciate, I was getting everything up until this morning, and it's just not been possible to have time to do that for today's meeting. So if I do get information, it will go on the website, so members and obviously the applicant and public and everybody will see it.
Okay, I think while it's a reasonable request, Councillor Pearson, it's probably one that we're going to struggle with. I think that, in an ideal world, we'd have the pack, kind of a week before, which kind of eats into things anyway. And then, so as much as it's a sensible request, it's probably one that Democratic Services are not able to deliver for us. I'd note that you wanted to say something.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. I represent South Yorkshire Police this morning. It was just to come back on the timetable. Mr. Were very helpfully has told us that version 6 of the event plan, which I think it would be, he aims to deliver within 7 days. I think it would be helpful if there was an understanding, an agreement between all of us that there is 7 days to the applicant to put in their final version, and then a further 7 days to the objectors to put in their responses, so that if dates are going to be looked at or for after 21 days, then there's a buffer of 7 days then in which parties can then start their preparation. But a line is drawn then in terms of no further written submissions being put in, so that we avoid this constant movement. So that's just a suggestion. I just wonder whether that could be a record of agreement across all parties, so that everybody knows where they stand when they come to this adjourned hearing.
I'm amenable to that. Do you want to just clarify?
I think it was 7 days to the applicant, 7 days to the objectors, and then of course there's you've got 7 days left of the 21-day period after which you'll be looking for a new date.
Okay, well that's noted and will be carried forward and as part of the sort of conditions of moving forward. Are you okay with that? So that's a matter of record.
Yes, I think we've got the opportunity with us all being here today to try and make this as easy for you when we come back as we can, because it's a bit of a mess at the moment. I know one of my colleagues hasn't seen one of the appendices So I think it's critical that we're all working from the same document, so we will work to those deadlines, yes.
Yeah, a bit of a mess is a bit of an understatement, but anyway, here we are. So that's a matter of record then, that's how we're going to proceed. So I think, unless anyone else has got anything else... Sorry.
Sorry to be a pest.
Well, that's normal.
Just clarify for Amber's benefit. So 7 days for the applicant to provide further submissions.
Yes.
7 days for those making representations, and then a 7-day period in which we
Yes.
try and get a meeting.
Yes, yeah, but bearing in mind within that, you know, we need that submission as soon as possible, because obviously we have then got to read that, understand it, and get our heads around whatever changes have been brought forward. So, you know, it just gives it, the better we understand it, the better the decision, you know, is made. Okay, so without further ado, if everyone is happy with that, or as happy as they can be, I'm going to close the meeting, and I look forward to seeing you all in probably 21 days. Thank you. Thank you.